hanging out and hooking up, negotiating safer sex. I also want to tell you about some exciting programs offered by the LGBT Resource Center. Next month our conference is Out in the Workplace, and we'll be talking about how to assess if a corporation is welcoming and affirming, how to put political or LGBT activism on your resume, or whether not to, and we hope you'll attend that. That's October 19th. And also, for January, we are having Change You, a social justice training series, and this is going to be by far our biggest program of the year. So whatever your passion is to change the world, sign up for Change You and learn some skills for actually being able to carry that out. And you can learn more about it at gvsu.edu/social justice. And as always, to follow our programs, please follow us on Facebook, Grand Valley State University LGBT Resource Center, and on Twitter, GVSU LGBT Resource Center. So let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. Dave Watt works for CARES in Kalamazoo, and CARES stands for Community AIDS Resource and Education Services. He's been a certified HIV/AIDS counselor and tester for 7 years. And also some little-known facts. He was Mr. Michigan Leather. And he is a marching band designer, so he does all the choreography for marching bands. Very cool. So, also...
Not to correct you, but I still am Mr. Michigan Leather 2009. Right.
And he was also a middle school math teacher, which doesn't really go with some of the other things, but okay, I'm trying to work it out. All right. So please help me welcome Dave Watt. This is really sensitive. It's really loud.
We're going to fumble with a sound check for a little bit here. How's this? Does this sound good? Cool. So I teach marching bands, so projecting my voice over a football field isn't a problem, but we need to do this, right, for this? Okay. All right, and everybody has a little pink sheet. I was a middle school math teacher, so I like handouts. We have a little graph to fill out. I saw somebody working on math. So we're going to have a little bit of math today, too. And there's also blank cards. Yes? Cool. All right, so what we'd like to get out of today, this is a little too live, isn't it? It's a little squeaky. Gosh, I don't like that. How's that? It's still live. Is it a little too live? A little squeaky? Not bad? It's still buzzing a little bit. Check, 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 check. How's this? Okay, keep talking. Okay, you got to figure it out? Cool. You have to be careful with this microphone. My cousin, she got married. She's Catholic, and he was Jewish. So when they got married, like, the wedding was going to be cursed. When she went to light the unity candles, she stepped on her dress, and she was like, right into the microphone. She's like, shit, I can't step. I stepped on my dress. I can't reach the candle. So the wedding was cursed from the start. So, but they're actually still happy. All right, so what we'd like to do today is talk about, like, the world has changed since online, and people are hooking up. And it's a lot more anonymous sex is happening. So I've been testing HIV for 7 years now, so I've had a lot of conversations. How many people have here had an HIV test? Is this okay? So with that HIV test required by law in Michigan, you didn't just go in and get a test, right? What else happened? This is going to be an audience participation day today. What else happened during the HIV test? You just had a conversation? Okay, you had a conversation. Okay, so you talked about a risk reduction plan, and you talked about, I call it like sex church. You know, like you go in and you confess what you did, and you talk about, you know, the sex and maybe how you were maybe potentially exposed to HIV. Okay, so and I'm finding that, like, over the last 7 years, after hundreds of conversations with people about their sex life, that the trend is that we're having more and more sex, and we're having more anonymous hookups, and I think some riskier behaviors. So when they asked me to come speak on this topic, I was very, very excited. So this is new curriculum for me, but it's also a very, very hot topic, I believe. So what I'd like to just kind of start off with is I'm not going to ask anybody today to talk about their personal sexual practices, but let's really talk about what we know others are doing. Maybe our roommate, or our friend. Yeah, okay. Where are our friends meeting up? Let's just brainstorm. Just like say hello. We're going to be asking you in a minute to come on up here and write. Okay. So where are our friends meeting up? At the bar, clubs, parties. Classes, dorms, online. What are some of our online websites? I'm a gay man, so there's gay websites, like a ton of them. Okay, so I did a Facebook posting, like where are the straight hookup sites? So I asked all my friends, and what are some of the answers I got? Facebook. People are hooking up through Facebook. Match.com, eHarmony. Okay, so people are hooking up there, not just for dating, but like hooking up there for sex too. Okay? And then what are friends doing when it comes to sex? Let's talk about a full range. What are our friends doing with sex? It's like, for example, your roommate, what is your roommate doing? All right. So some people are hooking up and full all and out sex. You want to start writing these down, Colette? Like this. Oh, you're gonna volunteer? Way to delegate. Way to delegate. All right. So write on that board. This not the whiteboard. This one. Big letters. I want a marker here. All right. So people are hooking up, and what's the full range of what's happening? We're hooking up online. Where does your roommate meeting these people, women? Okay. All right. So online, come back to the dorm, and sex there. Okay. What else? What's the other range of people? What are people doing? Finding Craigslist. I've searched on Craigslist. So like Craigslist and finding hookups from there. Craigslist gets pretty specific, doesn't it? What people are looking for. Okay. So what are some of the things that you might have seen? Have you ever been to Craigslist and just curiously looked at something? I got something on Craigslist once. It was a saw. This really nice table saw. So people are looking for, what are some of the things people are looking for on Craigslist? Sex slaves. So, yep. So, some specific role play, some specific scene that they have in mind.
Are they allowed to do this?
Are they allowed to do this on Craigslist?
Like, I didn't know that they did this on Craigslist.
Some pieces of it just got shut down.
Right.
So pieces.
But the men seeking women, women seeking women, men seeking men is still there.
Right.
All right, so some sex role play. We're talking like sex. There's a lot of requests for oral sex. So a lot of that happens online. And I'm finding the research that I've done online is looking for that. There's a lot of men out there that want to give someone else a blowjob. There's way more people that want to give the blowjob than get the blowjob, which I find interesting. And I would also like to talk about, so there's a lot, what else is the range? Is everybody having sex? No. Some people, what else? What are some of the other choices that people are making? Abstinence? You can abbreviate, APST. And other choices people might make? I mean, some people are like in committed relationships. Some people are in monogamous relationships. Some people just really limit how much sex they do with their partner. All right. Thank you for taking notes. We can just leave that up there for now. So what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about like what does we hear a lot about safe sex, and like how much of this is safe, and then what do we call what is safe sex? Like if you hear safe sex, that word is thrown out a lot. Like, so what does safe sex mean to you? That doesn't, like, what, not what you practice, but when you hear someone say safe sex, oh, I'm in safe sex, what does it mean?
Protection from pregnancy and sexually transmitted diseases.
Cool. So you're protecting yourself. How else? Getting tested. Okay. If you know what your status is and you keep up on that status. A birth control. Yep. Other ways of safe sex? Consent. You're seeking consent. And then other ways of using protection. When they say, oh, I'm using protection, what do they mean? Condoms. We're talking about condoms. So we have like a wide range of, because like if you're just preventing, if your goal is to prevent pregnancy, like that's what safe sex means to me, is I'm going to prevent pregnancy because that's really what I'm scared of. That doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to do, condoms. It might mean something different for different people. So I think that's an important thing, is like, oh, I'm only into safe sex. Then understanding, like communicating with your partner what that means for safe sex. And also, it's also not just to know, like, it's important for you to like realize for yourself what you consider to be safe sex. Is that you think about it and think about all these acts. Like if you're into like some role play, what is that, like how can I do that safely? Or if I'm going to have intercourse with somebody, what does it mean for me to have safe sex? And understand what that means. Whether that means, birth control or condoms or monogamy, with one person. So understanding what you consider safe play. Okay? Does that make sense? It's important to like think about these things ahead of time, not just in the heat of the moment. Because if I heard the phrase, in the heat of the moment, I did this, for every time I did an HIV test, I'd be on a yacht somewhere right now. Because like as so many times people say, in the heat of the moment, I did this. So speaking of in the heat of the moment, sometimes we break our own boundaries of what we consider to be safe sex. Okay, you going to follow along with my handout? So sometimes we break our own boundaries. And sometimes we have barriers that prevent us from sticking to our own rules. Okay? So let's say, people want to, like, I have my own rules about safe sex, but sometimes I break my own rules. Can you imagine that happening for people? Under what circumstances do people break their own rules about what they consider safe?
Pressure from the partner.
There you go. Pressure from a partner. I would love to peel this one off and write these out too. Could you stick this on the wall? So this one we're going to call barriers to our own safe sex. Stick it on the wall. Anyway. Pressure from a partner. And if you have pressure from a partner and that changes what you define safe sex as, then that, in my opinion, is no longer consenting sex. If you take pressure, if you're pressuring somebody into doing something that you normally wouldn't do or you don't consider safe, then I consider that no longer consent to consenting adults. Okay? Under the influence of alcohol. Is alcohol still the biggie? What are the latest other than alcohol? Weed?